Don't worry. Oh, we are live. Hi, everyone.
Hi guys.
Hi.
Here we are.
We
Hello.
are
Hi,
here
guys.
with Max from HALCYON Way.
Yeah.
Steve could not be with us. He had a problem, but no problem because we have the guitar player and he is great.
All right. There you go. And I kind of look like Steve, just a little bit better looking. So
Yeah, no, okay. You just have to change your name and you can pretend to be Steve if you want.
yeah, there you go. That works. I'll just talk about lifting weights and singing.
Yeah, because you sing as well, so yes.
Yeah, you're right.
Well,
I try to sing.
How are you, Max?
I'm doing good, man. Just trying to keep optimistic through all the craziness. And, I think all artists are kind of finding ways like this to do that and band together and make something good out of something weird.
Yeah, I get you. I am amazed about the fact that it's day over there because it's night over here. The first thing I noticed that there is
strange.
daylight over there.
Yeah.
What
Physics.
time is it?
It is 4:35.
Oh, okay. You
Another-
are in Atlanta, right?
Yeah, Atlanta time. So we got another 4.5 hours of day left.
That's great.
Yeah.
We chose this time to be to make people able to watch us everywhere over the world. We just decided to do it at a good time everywhere, so that's good.
Yeah,
Hi,
absolutely.
Ruben. Hi.
Hi, man.
Hi.
Hi, Princesa. And hi, Niara.
Ciao.
Aniara.
She is from Germany, so she says good evening. But yeah, good day.
Right. I don't know any German, but hello.
She speaks a little bit of Italian as well. So, well, you don't know Italian as well.
She was in the last
Yes.
gig that we did together back in the tour in 2018 in the
Essen.
Rock.
Essen, yeah.
That's
Rock.
cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Do you remember?
Yeah. I remember that. That was the last show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. That was a cool little area.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It was.
cool, urban.
It was good. If I don't mind, we stopped there our tour, and then Angra and Operation Mindcrime continued to Russia, right?
Yeah.
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 It was
Or
bad.
at least
right.
they tried because let's not talk about tour bus problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe later.
So
Anyway, this is the guy that when we were in Amsterdam and we wanted to see the sex shops, we instead went and found some craft beer.
Brewery.
We spent
Yeah. The
the
brewery.
whole day
was-
there.
the equivalent of craft beer in Sex Museum. They're
Yeah.
about the same.
Yes, but I have to say it was very good.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely. Oh, I'm moving in. It's raining like crazy all of a sudden. Anyway,
Oh.
that was almost bad.
No, but at least it was raining. Some guy over here just dropped his water on his MacBook Pro, and the guy is just there.
Me.
Well, I would have been surprised if it was any of the others.
Thank you, Max. Thank you.
You're welcome.
A glass of water is here, by the way.
Yeah, but yeah, Amsterdam was definitely that was amazing. I wish we had more than 4 hours there when we went. Unfortunately,
Oh yes, because we didn't play there. We were in Rotterdam.
Rotterdam, yes.
Yeah.
yeah, which was really cool too.
Yeah.
Yes, I have to say I never saw anyone walking so much to go and search for beers.
Right. Yeah, I should keep track of that mileage. I'm sure it's interesting. But yeah, you know, I if y'all remember, I've got my little beer app that
Yeah. Remember that? Yeah.
Untapped. So whenever even if you're in you know, Moscow, which we were in December, it'll log in and see all the official approved craft spots that have the best beer, and I sometimes have to walk a lot to get to them.
But it's always worth it.
Yeah, and you know, if you're ingesting lots of calories and you know getting it's good to earn your beer.
Max, do you have the count of how many beers you drank?
Yeah, it's of different beers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something like 4,300 different
Kind of beers?
Wow.
Are you kidding?
No, it's serious. He's serious. Yeah.
You'll know when I kid.
You never kid about drinking.
You can see backwards. Wow. It's 4,500 and
wow.
59. Actually, it's not backwards. Cool. So yeah, basically, like that is an app that, and it keeps track of, you know, you've had beers in 22 countries and 36 states, whatever. So,
it could be a Guinness World Record, maybe. I don't know.
No. There's like 300,000 beers on the app, probably, maybe like millions actually by now. And I'm sure that there are people that have gotten 10 times.
Man, you can go for it. You can go for it. Yeah.
We believe in you.
Yeah, it kind of feels weird to make like a scavenger hunt out of drinking sometimes. Like some people have a problem with this. But yeah, I think that people should know it's also like some of the beers are like samples, you know, so it's not all
It's not about quantity, it's about quality. So
quality, yeah.
Right. But yeah, just trying to at this point keep track with. I run too, as we said. It's not just walking around, but I think everyone's gained a few pounds in quarantine. I definitely have like 7 or 8. So I'm trying to keep the running here and the beer here. You know.
Yeah, it's not like it's a balanced thing.
Right.
But, yeah, at least when you're touring, you have to go by walking, so. You can earn your beers, as you said.
Yeah,
and I mean on stage rocking out, you know, we probably burned quite a few calories. Yeah,
just a little bit.
Yeah, as long as you don't just sit there like Simon.
That's too comfortable being a drummer.
Just kidding.
He doesn't say anything.
The drummer is the musician who probably.
No, wait a second.
What?
Drummer is not a musician.
Okay. It's the band member.
Okay, that's good.
Anyone. He's sitting on a throne.
Yeah, it's true. It makes your head get really egotistical when everyone's really laughing at you.
Hi, Jalal. Hi.
Hello.
So, guys, shall we start with the questions?
Yeah, why not?
Good.
Let's go.
Can I start?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Question number 1, Max. And this is the question. And when did you start playing guitar and why?
Oh, cool. Just in case I didn't understand you, it's written there for me too. Nice.
Yes.
Nah, I understood you. I started. I was 13, and I first made it. I was one of those guys who like got a guitar for Christmas and then like never really learned to play it for a while. And I think I went to like a church and we learned like a G chord and a D chord.
Oh, okay.
And I just like played those 2 chords for like 7 months, and then a lot of by the beginning of our 8th grade year, so yeah, 13, I was like during the summer, there were a lot of my friends joining bands and stuff. And I joined a band as a singer, and we just did like Nirvana and like punk rock songs like Offspring and stuff like that. And
cool.
Yeah, and you know they had 2 guitar players, but I thought it'd be cool if I played guitar too, because everyone needs 3 guitar players, you know.
Yes.
All doing the exact same thing. So yeah, I finally went to a guitar teacher, and like I remember learning "Damn It" by Blink-182 on my own right before that, and like I actually was able to do it after like a week of just sitting there. And when I went to the guitar teacher, I got super into it really fast, and within a year I was learning arpeggios and stuff like that. So I went really
1
quick.
year.
Yeah,
Whoa.
I mean, I still have recordings I made. They were sloppy, but it's still impressive, I guess, for that's the thing. It's like I learned too quick. So I would definitely sound like real.
Good for you, man.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, you
I
feel.
never learned that.
Yeah. You're still trying to learn. Yeah. Nah, we're all.
Yeah. Had to prove my.
The main thing was just not getting bad habits, you know, and but that's what the guitar teacher was for. So
Yeah, Fede is still playing the G chord and the D chord.
yeah,
He never went past that.
no. Well, you get a pat on the head for that. At least you know 2 chords.
Both measure. That's the problem. If it was 1 minor and 1 major, you could just move it up and down with I don't know, like Pro Tools, but
yeah, right. Well, you can use the capo to make other chords with them. So
yeah, that's interesting. Yes, yeah, okay. I could do that with bass.
Yeah, yeah, capo the bass. It would be very rebellious way to play bass.
I don't know if it would be. Well, I have 6 strings. I should buy a 7-string bass so I can just tune all the strings.
Yeah.
On a different, or 12 strings, so I can do all the chromatics as well. That's interesting.
Yeah,
I could do that.
you should.
Thank you. Yes. What do you think, Simon? What do you think about notes?
I don't know.
He's a drummer.
I
never know
I
about
just hit
notes.
beats.
Yeah. That's cool. We need beats in the world to coexist.
If you give me a guitar, I'm starting to hating it.
Yeah. I got 1 hole in one of my guitars already from doing that shit. A hole that's not supposed to be there.
Okay. So another hole.
Yes. I learned the hard way. Not all guitars are good for the hand percussion stuff.
Yeah.
Finger style and all that. But it works, so oh well. Anyway.
That's good.
Yeah, so you know, I mean, I think it's a pretty typical story of how people learn guitar, but I guess what was interesting was just that all my friends were into like and I know this is probably going to be a next question, but all my friends were into like the punk rock stuff, and I got really into that type of music. My favorite bands were like Blink-182, Offspring, Goldfinger, and then when I took those guitar lessons, he showed me Joe Satriani, and for whatever reason, I was a kid that like just got really into instrumental music when I heard it, when most of my friends just didn't like it at all when they heard it. So that kind of made me get good or excel a lot quicker than some people learning the guitar, just because I was trying to make sure I could play that kind of stuff, Satch Boogie and Always With You, Always With Me, things like that.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, it is partially the next question, but also which are the albums that influenced you the most?
Yeah, and so to elaborate, like well, really, I guess Surfing with the Alien was the first. My teacher had like hundreds of CDs. We could just back when CDs were the main thing, we would just burn a CD and we would borrow it, and I would just kind of like, I didn't have a way to upload the CD, so I just listen to it and try to learn the songs and then give it back. And then when he showed me Scenes from a Memory and Train of Thought, like that was 3 months later into my lessons, and then it was just full steam ahead into Dream Theater madness. So again, it helped me get a lot better a lot quicker. So.
Oh yes.
For how many years did you take guitar lessons?
3.
3 years, only 3.
Sorry, 3 with him, and then another year with another teacher.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and I only went to another teacher because he had some different, like they were both probably just as good as each other. They were shred head crazy, you know, still better than me today on a lot of things. But I was able to learn, you know, jazz from one and more classical from another. But you know, I didn't really focus on too much other than shredding for a long time. And I try to get my students, which I teach now a good bit, to, you know, have versatility, but also try to not walk before you run, in a sense, because I didn't make that mistake a lot.
Yeah. But that's what you want to do when you are young, you know, like all the children that wants to play drums just because it's very immediate and direct. And when you have a guitar, you just want to go and do solos.
Right.
You don't want to do, like, I don't know, chords or rhythm parts.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the other thing that was a big thing that I didn't really, I guess I wish my teacher had showed me, but I also, it's not like I had the attention span for everything, was to, you know, not always play in like a key, but listen to the chords, you know?
Okay.
And like that was something that I missed for a good long time. It used to be all just scales. And I got really good at improvising because of that, but only so good because, you know, you really got to make it musical. There's more to it than just 16th note Petrucci runs. Yeah. But
you know, as a teacher, since you're a teacher right now, you understand why they did that, because they wanted to keep your attention high. Because if they wanted to, I don't know, like no, you have to go for this or just improvise on this blues song or with these 3 chords or something like that, you would probably go like, I want to go fast.
Right. I want to go fast. Yeah. Yeah, and exactly. I mean, and I've had students that really reminded me of myself, that ultimately figured it out too, most of them. But others, you know, I've had that were better than myself, and that they cared really about being precise. And, you know, like, I guess it comes down to just listening. Do you listen to yourself? You know, do you have some clunky, you know, maneuvering going on between notes where when you're distorted, you have no forgiveness really for mistakes. Yeah. So I always would just turn up the delay and the reverb and act like that made it go away.
It works.
Yeah, I guess kind of at the time. But yeah, it really helped me too in high school. When I was 16, I joined a band that we made some really good kind of prog rock, like Rush kind of. It's a little bit of different, maybe Styx meets Rush. They're actually still a band today. They're called Surreal, but there's like a million bands called Surreal. And they, you know, it was stuff that I was working with musicians that were really, really great in high school. And so that was kind of my moment where I got enough criticism towards my playing, and then also recording. Like when you go to record, you gotta know how to use a click at that point. So,
Yeah.
Yeah,
man.
The first recording experience is traumatizing for everyone. So yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Of course, nowadays, there's ways to edit anything. So a lot of people just, I guess, get to skip that part if they want. Especially some singers that marry the auto-tune,
Oh, yes. Also drummers.
Right. Yeah.
No, Simon doesn't.
And quantizing. You got to stop that, Simon.
No, I'm kidding. It's good. I don't quantize them too much.
It depends from song to song, probably. No, but not the last album wasn't quantized. I mean, I improved during the years, probably. I hope so. You can tell me, Pajo.
Well, yeah.
No, we tried to make him improve, but then we just decided to go for simpler parts. So yeah, that was faster and easier. So we did that.
I think, and I was kidding kind of, but I think everybody uses a little bit of that in autotune, but it's just like marrying it where it's something you lean on for everything. That's bad.
Yeah, well, when you're going through productions nowadays, every drum part is quantized, of course, but when you have to add a lot of voices, a lot of vocal lines, one over another, you have to go for auto-tune or at least something to tune the voice, because otherwise that would be something really bad happening. If you don't have much time in the studio, if you have a lot of time in the studio, you can just go for it and do all the takes you want and get it perfect.
Right.
That's the problem.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I got to be ready for the studio though, man. That's for sure.
Oh, yes.
Well,
so speaking of recordings and studio life, how do you usually come out with a riff or a guitar solo, and where do you take inspiration from?
So yeah, that's always a fun question, I think, for all guitar players. Me and John, the other guitar player in the band, do things really differently, and that's why we are generally coming up with a lot of good variants in material. John will usually, and I'm a theory guy and John isn't, so that can help balance too, as you probably know. So in that respect, I will usually come up with a chord progression. Or, I mean, for Halcyon's stuff, usually we start with the chorus. Like there's exceptions to that always, like if you find a good riff or whatever, but I try to make like a arsenal of riffs to maybe summon for use, and then sit down, come up with a good chord progression for a chorus. In this case, since we have so many songs already, I try to think of songs that are different from what we've already done. Like maybe we don't have a lot of 3/4 time signature choruses, so I might start with, okay, I'm going to do a 3/4 time, and I'm going to do this, descending minor chord progression in E minor, since we always do C minor. And so then I'll try to make a some kind of drone melody over the chords, and have that chorus to kind of as a rock to return to, and then start coming up. I'll put on. I'm pretty lazy about making drums, and I use Logic, and so I just use the Logic drum machine, and I'll just kind of do eeny, meeny, miny, mo with that, and basically I just see what I feel like needs to resolve into that chorus, or rather what the chorus should resolve into when it returns to a heavy riff. And usually go from there. And at that point, I might be able to pick out, one of the 100 riffs that I have to place in that song. So that's like the more strategic approach. And John is usually just doing what kind of sounds cool, which is making a lot of stuff that I wouldn't make, because he does a lot of like cool chromatic stuff that, theoretically I'm like not going to think like that all the time.
It
Cool.
just sounds good. Yeah, if you have to. Do you think that his approach to the music is better, worse, or just different?
I think that his approach has been better served to metal than mine can be sometimes. I think that I'm probably have a more landscape of music better approach to songwriting, just because I also write so many different kinds of songs. I mean, another thing is, like, whereas it seems from talking to or working with John, like he'll have to rely on spikes of inspiration for things to happen, because he's doing kind of what sounds cool. And then like I don't usually sit down to write music and not write music. Like usually I can just tweak the parameters of how I'm doing things. Like I said, change the key, change the time signature. Sometimes I can do weird shit by taking a drum beat and then I might like clip off the last 3 beats or add 3 beats on maybe, and then I'm in 11/8, and it's then I can come up with something in that. And it's kind of like that. Like I usually can just have that advantage. So I think mine's better for producing more material, but I would say that probably John, when he does produce material, it's usually really good material. So
yeah,
kind of like
Good.
I asked you this because I'm similar to both of you, depending on the instrument I'm playing when I'm composing, because I studied classical piano, and when I play piano, I'm more like you, and when I play bass, I'm more like John. So I was interested in this thing because I think, I don't know, it's just different. There is no better way or worse way to do it, in my opinion.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And, I've talked to a lot of good guitar players that do different things. And I've gotten also ideas from other guitar players like Steve Vai and Petrucci. I'll sit in on a lot of their workshops. And, I mean, Steve Vai told me, or said something, not told me, but said something that early on helped me a lot. And that's like, whenever you have a good idea that you're jamming on, make sure, to reach out and grab it and record it or put it somewhere, jot down the lyrics. If it's lyrics, don't let it just fleet away, because that'll happen every day. And, you could have had, Bohemian Rhapsody never happen or something like that if, the right people at the right time didn't remember that one thing. So it's kind of doing an injustice to your music if you don't.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Also, Dan says, and that's how you do collaboration. Well, he is the guitar player of Monument. He was with us last Thursday. Hi, Dan.
Yeah.
Hi, Dan.
Hello.
And
yeah, great. So let's go on, guys.
Sure.
Peter, it's your time to make.
It's my time. Yeah. We told about how you compose and the HALCYON Way composing process. So
I want to see how he just asked the question.
Came out with the question, so we can talk about your band HALCYON Way and how did you join them?
Yeah, so and that's it's one of those things that kind of just fell in place nicely. I had been doing, after high school, I focused on solo and, you know, given everything I've said, it's probably not surprising. I did put out a professionally made instrumental album. It's very similar to John Petrucci or Joe Satriani. And through doing that, I got the drummer for Seven Dust to play on one of my songs, and I made a lot of tracks. Yeah. And you can hear that on Spotify. It's called Finding Solace. But anyway, so I was able to, I spent all my money that I had saved, like, to do that when I was 20, and spent like the next 2 years just really putting a lot into my music, while I was also, you know, trying to make money in other ways and stuff. And it was a grind. And then I kind of got to the point where I was looking for a band, and because it's always a lot to do by yourself. And I still juggle those problems today, but my friend from high school football, who was you know, just I was pretty good friends with in school, but hadn't seen in a long time. His dad worked with John. John is a entrepreneur and runs a business for a mortgage loan company, finance company, and which he's very successful and good at. And basically, like, it was 2002, and like early in the year, they said they were looking. This guy, my friend's dad, his name's Randy. He contacted me and said they were looking for a musician to tour in Europe with them, because they had not, or they had someone bail on it. And I was honestly really nervous about that, because it was like 2 months away, and I was listening to the stuff. And I'm a good lead guitar player, but they were looking for a rhythm guitar player. And like, it was the kind of stuff I would probably need a little time to get down. But yeah, you know, I think some people can relate. I'm a pretty slow down picker, so I have to alternate a lot of the things that we do in the band.
Okay.
I'm not a traditional metal guitar player. Anyway, so like, it ended up I couldn't go anyway, but the guy that they got kind of sucked too, and he bailed. And it ended up like maybe a month later, it was like September 2012, we finally got together, and they had a cancer benefit show coming up. And so the goal was to try to just me learn the stuff and jam with them on that. And I, at that time, ended up playing bass, because they had another guitar player that I guess didn't want to play bass. And basically, you know, I had played bass in a previous band and I liked it fine. I think all guitar players kind of just are like, you know, might as well learn bass in case we got to play it. But, you know, I used to pick, so I wasn't really that magical of a bass player. I know. The Davey 504 would be there.
Yeah.
He is Italian like me, so.
Yeah, but I upset the bass gods with that one.
Yeah. Did you ask him for his permission to play bass?
I probably should do that so I don't get the police called on me.
Yeah.
So anyway, like, basically, you know, it was easy to play the bass, and that allowed me to do a lot of the harmonies and stuff. So we really clicked when we started playing together. The first show we did was October 2012, and it went really well. I felt really cool coming into a band with, you know, older guys that had been doing it a while and were real professional about it. And, you know, I was 22 at the time. So like, it was a little intimidating, but, you know, Halcyon's always had a really great fan base that like makes you, you know, very family, makes you feel welcome, in addition to having, you know, a good fan base that's not local as well. And so I kind of didn't really look back once I started doing that with him. And we ended up doing a tour, and that following April 2013, opening for Udo for that weirdo, for 10 shows. And yeah, you know, if you're not familiar with Udo, he was in what's the band name? Oh man, starts with an A. It's gonna come back to me. I don't listen to a lot of traditional like European rock and roll and stuff. Except, that's it. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's a singer from Except. So he's a weird, short, like German guy. But he's it was really fun. They had a decent draw. And we played these really weird shows there too, man. Like we went to the middle of nowhere, Canada, called St. Ferdinand, and it was like a blizzard in this place in April, and it was literally there was nothing around there. It was just like in the tundra of Canada, and it's warehouse. They had probably like 2,000 to 3,000 people in this thing, and I don't know where they came from, but they were there. Like the guy who had been planning this show, because he was just obsessed with Except. He planned the show for like a year. They had this giant like metal heart with a like being carried with a chain across the stage that looked like something you would spend a year welding. They have a song called Metal Heart. So anyway, it was like a whole bunch of shit like that, and it was one of the most memorable shows I played for sure. But you know, like that was my first tour, and it was my first time seeing a lot of the U.S. cities and Canada, and so I think from that point I got really addicted to the idea of touring, and all the while it was really helping me improve my chops as a musician. Which by the next tour I was on guitar at that point, but it was still good for me to play whatever I was doing. It would help me.
Yeah. In the meantime, if you want, go and check the song Max was talking about, Finding Solace, on Spotify. I put the link in the description of the live chat.
Oh.
Also, Jesse. Or Jesse.
Ready? Hey,
hello,
Jesse.
my friend.
Hello.
And Gatian says, hope to see you guys in Europe soon. And he's talking with you, Max, because we already are in Europe.
Yeah, we're sitting in Europe right now. I hope to see myself in Europe soon. But when y'all allow Americans to come back anyway.
I think...
Which
I don't know.
I agree with that being not something that should happen. So I was just saying. We are currently scheduled to go back in June of next year. So
that's great.
Hoping everything will become a little better by then. I think it will. So.
Yeah, I think the same. We hope so, at least.
Ass if it didn't.
Yeah. And talking about tours, you did different tours around Europe. Do you remember your first one? And what are your thoughts about Europe?
Yeah. So the timeline we were talking about was in 2013. I started playing guitar on my second tour. That was opening for a band called Saxon. People know. And that was in the U.S. And Fozzy was the other band on the ticket, Chris Jericho's band. And so that was my first full tour. It was like 25 shows, September 2013, going all over the U.S. and ending in Vancouver, which was beautiful. It was just a lot of work and a long time. We were driving ourselves, and we had some adversity, but it was all in all, just again, it kept getting exponentially more addicting for myself. And so 1 year after that, end of 2014, we went to Europe, and that was the reason I brought up Saxon was because we were invited to open for them in Europe for a month. and that was with Skid Row on the ticket too.
Nice.
Epic, yeah. So that was in November 2014. I've got a pretty good memory. We toured for another 24 shows with Saxon, and starting in Germany and basically going all over the place and ending in back in France. So I got to see. I had never been to Europe. I had only been to Mexico twice, before I had joined the band. So obviously, it was the kind of chance to see the world that I wouldn't have had anytime soon had I not joined the band. And it definitely was a pretty spiritually enlightening experience, just kind of seeing everything we grow up hearing about. I mean, I think seeing the U.S. is cool for everybody because it's so many different kind of countries. Well, really, Europe is too. I mean, literally it is, but I guess the U.S. is like so many different atmospheres, in one, and different kinds of people, and the way that the market works. It allows so many different kinds of life to form, and in Europe, it was that too. I think it was all kind of like fascinating to me for me to not know anything anybody was saying, but also as soon as you get used to one dialect, you're in another language or in another dialect of that same language, and the culture is just it's crazy variety. But at the same time, what makes it all consistent is just the beautiful architecture and how everything is just so vintage and rustic. And I really like. I think the third show we did was in Cologne, Germany, and we went to the Dom, like the biggest cathedral in Europe, and it was just very amazing to see for the first time, and also get to end the days with getting to play for people that were totally different cultures.
Have you ever been to Italy?
And I didn't get to go to Italy till we went to Italy. On that same tour. I mean, I know y'all hopped on, I guess, after Italy.
Yes.
But yeah, that was the first time I ever got to see a lot of countries, Italy and Hungary, and that's the cool thing is and that was my second European tour.
Okay.
We had gone to Russia before that one, but obviously not the same thing. We were, so I guess my point was, it was already addicting from the first European tour, and then you get different countries and a different life from the bands you're touring with. And I think what was so fun about our tour is we had 3 bands hop on with us throughout. So you had like a different kind of life throughout the same tour bus, which was awesome.
Yeah.
But they were all 3 Italian bands, I think.
Right. Yep. And I mean, we mainly you guys, and then the first band that had toured with us, that we still talk to a lot. God, I'm having a brain.
Avelion.
Yep, I kept thinking Atrelion. I have it's funny. I have a good memory, but with words and names, I'm not as good. I'm good with like dates. Anyway, Avelion was amazing guys too, and we often get like really great family bonds out of bands we tour with, but you guys, I think, in Avelion were definitely some of the more significant we've had. So I think we were lucky to have 2 bands that we got along with so well in the same tour like that.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing on tour, just sharing the spaces and time with
Yeah.
people you don't know, but you have to stay there with them. But we were, well, it was great to meet you as well, actually, because we were a little worried about sharing the spaces with someone else, but we get along.
Yeah,
we got along good, so yeah.
We get used to the smell of each other's farts and stuff.
It's not a problem for us, maybe for Julia, but
but yeah, like, and my mission is usually just, hey, share beer with people and you'll get along.
Yeah.
it works. That's good for me.
That works.
Yeah,
for me too.
yeah. So anyway, I can't wait to go back to Europe whenever that happens. I mean, we don't have a European like full length tour or anything planned, but I really hope that after this is all done, we can get busy with that.
Good.
Oh yes.
Okay, great.
So, speaking about our tour we did together, what are your memories and thoughts about those days?
And I guess I went into that a little. You know, we talked about Amsterdam some. I would say the two most memorable days for y'all's leg of the tour were definitely Amsterdam and then Budapest. And and you know, go figure, those were the days we had days off. So you know, it was easier for us to make memories. But yeah, Budapest. That day, I think I remember every detail of what I was doing throughout the day, and you know, from our walk to the buffet where we ate, to, you know, I mean, everything that you see in Budapest is just breathtaking. So
yeah,
it's crazy.
I remember that it was crazy hot, even if it was April. So yeah, I do remember that day as well.
Yeah.
Really?
Hot weather. Yeah. Oh yes, he was not with us because he flew back to Italy
I went back to
graduate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely was surprising. I had thus far come to associate Europe with being cold, so it was interesting going at that time of year because it was mostly just very nice. But yeah, Budapest is definitely a different kind of climate and life, and you know, everything's very different in East Europe. It's older too, you know, so I guess it's just like you get a lot more of that satisfaction of architecture and buildings, and it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Do you remember the London gig?
Which one?
The London one.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that day of stress was definitely a
really
something that I won't be forgetting. I tell people all the time, you know, like I wish I could do an advertisement for Kemper, because it's like, you know, these things allowed us to just waltz in, and I know you didn't get to play, which sucked, but we wouldn't have if we didn't have Kempers where we could just set them on stage and start playing. And like and for those listening, like we basically, long story short, had thought we were not going to make the show, and then we ended up, after all day, getting to the show right when we were supposed to play at 7 p.m. We got there and we had to go on at 7:15, and HALCYON WAY was able to get on stage and play like 3 songs, and they were a good 3 songs, but I know you guys were freaking pissed because it had seemed like we were all gonna play for a while, but crazy.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, it's good that there was only one show missed, considering that problem. I think that it could have been worse, and we still got to see Cliffs of Dover, and you know, see a couple things. Like, I had never been to the UK before, so even if for 3 hours. It's like Amsterdam, I'd rather just go there for a second.
Oh yes, you can say that you've been there. That's great. You can also say that you played there. Well,
Right.
Yeah.
we played there as well, but in
We can do
another
as well,
tour.
yeah.
Yeah. You can say that you watched us play.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can.
Sorry to rub it in.
We played in London in another tour, but yeah, it would have been great to play again.
Yeah, and the good thing is we'll get the opportunity to do it again. So
We hope so.
yeah, one day.
Hi, Raquel.
Hi, Raquel.
Hi, Raquel.
Hello.
Let's move on with the next question.
So, guys, Max, what are your plans for HALCYON WAY in the future?
So basically, we a little bit of what we touched on earlier. To be more specific, we right now are just trying to write a ridiculous amount of material. We were actually planning on getting together this week, possibly for the first time all year, but we haven't really been doing, nothing. I've probably written, a dozen songs that are demoed out, and then John has a lot that are demoed out, and then Steve has been, I know he's recorded at least one vocal ideas on one of the songs, and then has been writing lyrics and vocal lines to the other ideas. And we've meantime been doing a lot of acoustic covers, quarantine style, where I'll make a acoustic track and film it live, and then send it to Steve, and he'll do the same, and then I'll splice it together. And you can hear those on Spotify too. There's 2 up so far for our song, Blame and Every Second Counts, which is a song from our 2015 album Conquer that was one of my favorite songs, but we never play it live. So it was really fun to do. And yeah, so we will probably do a couple more of those, and possibly a cover song or 2 we've been talking about, and then hopefully get a single out. I would like to see that happen this year for sure. And just kind of build the album around that for a release in, spring of next year or summer of next year. Kind of like y'all did, but we always take a little longer to do anything. So it'll probably be like a single comes out, and then another single comes out 3 months later, and then an album 3 months later. That's optimistic, but I figure we are not going to get to play any shows this year, because even though I'm getting to play for my solo shows a good bit, it's a lot harder to play for what our bands do.
Yes.
Especially in the States right now. And basically we're pretty much, we had a September tour that was lined up that we knew wouldn't happen as of months ago. And so we've kind of committed to the idea of just buckling down and producing or being productive with a lot of material. And in that regard, I think that is what a lot of artists are going to be doing this year. You kind of have to make it a renaissance period where we walk out of it with something positive. And if you look at the actual Renaissance and other periods of history, this is what usually happens is
Yes.
Yeah. So that's something we want to ride the train of, just like y'all do.
Yeah, I hope you're right. Well, history teaches that, so you probably are. Of course, as usual, the links of the songs or the acoustic album is in the comments. And yeah, about live shows, I always wonder how it will be when they will reopen everything, because I think that there will be a lot of shows happening at the same time, and it will be interesting to see what people will do.
Right. Yeah. Sorry, I was responding to something.
Don't worry.
Yeah. So I think all in all, it's a good thing as long as we do things that we wouldn't otherwise have time to do. And, for me, I've had a lot of things going on with, all the different things with music I do and with lessons, and I do artwork too. And I think we all have a million excuses of why we don't always get done as much as we want to do. Mm-hmm. So your excuse goes away when you're stuck in your house. And that is what, luckily before all this, I've got, I had accumulated like a recording studio equipment to do things pretty well from my house, as I'm sure some of you can do. And, it's allowed me to really use all this shit that I've spent money on instead of let it sit there. And so that's good.
Well,
and also wise.
What's that?
And also wise.
And wise. Yeah, I try to do wise things.
Now you have the reason why you spent all that money on production stuff. Yep, absolutely. Nah, so far I feel and I'm personally a pretty introverted kind of person. If I had it my way, I would basically be doing this stuff anyway. So I've kind of been on vacation. So you would have been in lockdown even if there was no actual lockdown. It just happened to everyone else at the same time.
In my perfect mind, yeah, I definitely like, getting up and being in my creative space, while, being able to have some social outlets. It's not all as important for me as waking up each day with seeing a lot of stuff that I got done the day before. And, as long as I can get to move my legs and go for a jog or whatever, I'm fine with that. And as things look, there will be more on and off kind of lockdown stuff going on throughout the year, depending on where you live. So it, I have other things that I will worry about, but one of them is not myself getting things done. And, I have ways of making money too, that from doing online lessons and all that. So I hope everybody kind of finds that way to pivot.
Oh, yes, I get you very much, actually. I'm not that social as well, but when I get when there was full lockdown here in Italy, the thing that I didn't like was not being able to choose to not see anyone. Because I want that freedom to choose to be alone. And I was forced to be alone, and I didn't like that. I would have been alone anyway, but I want to choose it.
Right. Yeah, you're right about that. And ultimately, I guess my point was I'm not celebrating anything, because ultimately there are other people that will always, have it not so good. And I think the whole lesson in this thing, this pandemic, is, we have to be worried about more than just ourselves. But at the same time, my mental health is personally okay, and I hope other people find ways to achieve optimism through staying busy.
Yes, do what you love. You have to do what you love.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. And everybody has that thing, like I've taught a lot of people lessons that were like, until 2020, I had this guitar that I never picked up, and now I have time to do it. So I guess we'll try.
Yeah.
So the main thing is try new things, and then you'll be able to look back at this time as when you began that new thing.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
In my case,
In
Yeah.
your case, what?
in my case, I try to grow my mustache.
Yeah. See that? It's very
Yeah. Do you see that? Do you see that?
a little bit.
He is failing. He is failing. He's failing so much.
I'm not failing.
Yeah.
How many weeks? For how many weeks are you growing it?
3 weeks right now.
Hey,
That's
hang
good.
on.
Yeah, but they're still here. You can
Hang in
see
there, bud.
them.
I believe in you.
I'm looking good, by the way, so.
Yeah, very masculine. Yeah.
Hi, Charlie. We won't stop making music. Don't worry.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, Max, I have to say that there is one song of HALCYON Way that has, for me, one of the best chorus I've ever heard. I think it's Blame. And I remember that we sang that song on the streets of Budapest
Oh yeah.
with Steve.
Yes.
I'm not a singer, but the song is whoa, whoa.
Oh yeah. The hook.
You get it?
Whoa.
Yeah,
It's got
Yeah, the thing.
that
not
one.
3-part harmony where you can oh oh oh. So it works really well for people doing that together.
Yeah, that's very. I like very much that song.
Yeah, I'm glad. And that's one thing I've come to appreciate from working with the band is I have always liked writing lyrics and vocal lines too. I like writing those things more than I do singing those things usually. And in my last album that I did, I went from the instrumental stuff to writing basically lyrics for other people to sing. And that was really fun for me to do. And HALCYON Way helped me appreciate sometimes you got to just have, it's not about the words, as much as you need a good hook of oohs or woes or whatever, punk rock music does a lot. And you need something for people to cling to. And it's hard for people to learn. When I would always write too many words, like a Bob Dylan song or something. And it's that requires people to learn things. But if you just have a part where you can just sing aimlessly, it allows people to kind of emotionally participate together.
And it's international as well.
Yeah. It's all universal, and that's what's really great about it.
Oh, yes.
Here's the concept of catchy explained.
Also, I think that Blame is out as an acoustic version as well, right?
Yeah. Yes, it is. Yeah, that was the first one we did before the Every Second Counts. I think that Every Second Counts is on Spotify now. If not, it'll be on there soon. But definitely check that one out. It'll be on the same HALCYON Way page, but it might be out. I don't know, but I think it's better quality than the Blame one, and it just was a song that worked better for acoustic. Blame was tricky because it starts out with this dissonant, heavy riff that I had decided I'm not going to do them the same. I had to rewrite a lot of the songs and stuff, and it was fun. But I think Every Second Counts was better. And then the next one I like even better, and that's we're doing one for Age of Betrayal, which is off our Building the Towers album. And look out for that. It should be done next week or so. We've had some distractions in the band with everything going on, but it should be done soon.
Oh, yes, of course.
Great.
Bye, Niara.
Hi, Niara.
See ya.
Thanks to you. Thanks to
Bye,
you.
bye.
And of course, if you want to see the rest of the live chat, you can always find the videos. Yes, we always publish them after the live. So remember this, Max. Don't say anything that can be used against you. It will remain on the internet. We have a question for Mauro. Mauro, is that a shaman drum behind you?
Yes, Andre.
Do you know him?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So this was a fake question. Thank you. He is trying to prove that he is popular, but he's not.
Yeah, I paid him.
It's singing. Yes.
Yeah. Now everyone's going to expect you to do the third harmony.
Oh, God.
Come on, Mauro.
No, maybe later.
I believe in you.
After the end of the live
Where the children is gone.
This makes absolute no sense. That's good. So, talking about your musical activity, do you have any other side project before or even now besides HALCYON Way?
Yeah. So last year, I like I mentioned, I put out a solo album called Plethora that has been a lot of my attention for the last 2 years, where I had kind of decided it would be cool to use my songwriting, and while I sang on some of the songs, which is the first time I ever did that on a recording, I also wrote songs for other people to sing in collaboration. And one is a former student of mine, Brennan Jenkins, who's 20 now, and she sings on quite a few songs on the CD and is just an absolutely amazing singer. But it was really cool to have someone that I taught for years, participate on my music in that way. And yeah, absolutely. And I also try to use other influences in the CD, like a lot of Radiohead influence can be heard on there, and then Beatles, the typical stuff. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. So I'm still working on promoting that. And basically beyond that, I right now have another band that I've been jamming with and writing with since early this year that we don't have a name yet, but we have quite a lot of material, and we kind of started out as a instrumental, kind of prog thing, but have started moving towards including some vocals. So I think it might end up being a bit like some of you may know Humphreys McGee.
Yes.
Yeah.
You made me discover them.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, I have no doubt I'd tell everybody about them because they're amazing. And that band is so great because they bring every style of music into this festival's jam band scene, but also like still pertaining to musicianship and shredding and stuff like that. And that's kind of how I love heavy metal, and HALCYON Way like fulfills this side of music for me. But I also really love like incorporating just dynamics in general. And so we're working on doing like mashup covers and cool things like they do, but then also like doing like really long songs, all that spiel, So I'm excited about it.
That's interesting because dynamics in metal equals switching from distorted guitars to clean guitars.
Which
and
we
that's dynamics in metal.
And we don't even do that a lot in HALCYON. I'm actually, that's another thing that we're trying to incorporate a little more. Don't
do that.
Yeah, I know. And so I think I'll always try to have side projects to fulfill my other interest in music, and I'm also very ADD, so I need like a lot of things going on to not keep me bored.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that Amphrey McGee is the exact description of what you just did.
Yeah, ADD music.
Yeah. They're great. Absolutely. I love them.
Yeah.
They're not a big thing here in Europe, actually. Are they becoming big there in the States?
They've become huge in the States. And I mean, when I got into them was 2010, and they were probably, like one of the early openers. They had been a band for like 6 years at that point, I think. And, they quickly became like some of the, main openers, headlining with Fish and all these other big festival bands. But they do tend to stick in the country for whatever reason. I know that they do some touring, but it's there's so much on YouTube to check out by them. And one really great thing that I think sums up their awesomeness is the Zonky album. Is it's mashups, and they'll take like "Sad But True" by Metallica and play the riff, and then sing Gorillaz.
Clint Eastwood, I think.
Clint Eastwood. And then switch the music, and then go to like a Rob Zombie song, and then go to like, "You spin me right round, baby, right all over the place." It's awesome.
Yes. Also, they do use a lot of lighting show during their shows. So it's absolutely astonishing.
Yeah, if you see their Pink Floyd covers and stuff live, it's really cool seeing those songs played so well with with that those kind of lights. And the festival scene, if you're going to do that, you pretty much have to have that part of the show down too, because got a lot of people want to go there for the visual stuff, of course.
Yes.
But anyway, they're I like that they're so popular, and I pay attention to that, because if they can be popular doing very musician oriented, intelligent music, I think that there is a market for that, and interest for that, and ultimately people just like hearing things that they haven't heard before, or covers they haven't heard before as well. So
yes, I agree. I hope that they will come to Europe as well, because I want to see them live.
Yeah, it will be interesting, by the way.
Yeah, seen them 20 times or so, but yeah, we'll see. Right now, people aren't going anywhere, so
yeah, we will have to wait and see what happens. But I think that they don't come over to Europe because with that kind of shows, with all the lighting stuff, there have to be at least some people. No, it's not expensive. I mean, you don't do that for 500 people.
Okay, gotcha.
Right.
Yeah, that's maybe why they don't come to Europe. It's a whole new market, and that's expensive. Doing the promotion over here.
But
yeah, I agree. Well, we should go to the US.
Why not?
Because they won't let us.
Yeah, I know.
Not yet, but by the time this is all over, hopefully there will be seeds planted to get everybody active and us back to Europe, and so we'll see. I'm going to try to remain optimistic about it.
Yes, as Brandon Lee said in The Crow, it can't rain all the time. So at some point, it will be the end of this craziness.
Absolutely. And we will be all the stronger, and
and we will do the exact same mistakes as before.
Yeah, probably, but we'll be better musicians while we do it.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah.
we practiced a lot.
And Max, we are 3 guitar players tonight. I'm sorry, guys.
Are you coaching also me? Okay, thank you, Mauro.
Yes, no, you're welcome. And I have this cool question that I did to our friend last week, Dan Bound. And the question is, if you have to do your personal G3, okay, so which guitar players will you choose?
Ooh, that's difficult. Like, so you're saying if I could choose any guitar player, 3 guitar players in the world, who would I choose, right?
Yeah,
Right.
you can choose Petrucci, by the way.
In other words, who are my favorite 3 guitar players? Is that the question?
Not necessarily the players you would like to play with.
Oh, that I would like to play with. Well, that's one of those questions that just makes it. I would be nervous to play with so many of these guys. But if we can get past me having stage fright, getting on stage with Joe Satriani or something, then
Okay.
I'm just kidding. But I would be like, oh, he's gonna look at me playing this minor third wrong or whatever. Or I'll get distracted by the sheen on his bald head. But nah. So yeah, I mean, definitely Joe Satriani, and yeah. Am I choosing like famous people, right? Like anybody?
Whatever you want.
Okay. And then this guy, Pliny.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, most people have heard of him by now. I'm really fascinated with his playing, and I would love to, just even meet the guy and ask him some questions of how he layers different guitars. And I mean, he in his what was the song? Sunset.
Electric Sunrise, maybe.
Electric Sunrise, yeah. He a couple parts of that song, he has like 25 guitars layered at the same time, and you can hear it because it's just humongous.
Yeah.
But it's not overbearing either. And I'm not familiar with too many people doing it the way he does it. So and he kind of incorporates like different areas of djent and your polyrhythms that I think are in a more musical way. Like that song has a lot of those attributes to it, and it's I think that it's like he's mixing in just the right amount of each thing to make it appealing to the average person. And then also he's got his own style in general. Steve Vai called him the millennial Steve Vai or whatever. And anyway, so definitely him as well. So
okay,
you'll have to look out for me doing G3 with these 2 guys.
it's an interesting trio.
Not bad.
What's that?
I would definitely go it. Or do you need a bass player for that? I'm available.
Yeah, we'll holler. Anyway, yeah, I guess that I probably would change my answer if I thought about it too long. So
Okay, so let's go on with the next question. Fede, it's your turn.
It's my turn. And, I think it's the last question, by the way. But what are your hobbies and interests beside music?
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier I pretty much stuff I've already mentioned. The beer is a big hobby of mine, or interest, I guess.
Yeah, we know.
I consider it a hobby, actually. And
it's a mission.
Yeah. And most people ask why I don't brew beer, because a lot of people do brew their own beer nowadays. It's easy. But
I was about to ask. By the way.
I really don't have interest in picking up a new thing. Like I have a lot that I have to do, and master of or participate in too many things. I'll be master of none, kind of thing. So, my artwork is my other thing that besides music that I really put a lot of time into, and it kind of fulfills like a different part of my creative outlets because music I'm very technical about and have a good understanding of the in and outs of theory and songwriting and playing, but with art I'm pretty self-taught. I used to, as a kid, I would draw like Dragon Ball Z like nonstop, like when I was like 10 years old, and I got pretty good at just like looking and drawing what I see. There's actually you probably can't see it. It's a Dragon Ball Z painting I did.
Okay. I want to see it.
Yeah, it's like right there.
Okay.
There. It's weird doing this, but there we go.
I can see that. I
There
want
we
to
go.
see that more.
Their blonde hair.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I should just do this.
Oh.
There we
wow.
go. And right next to it. So, but that's like one of my favorite paintings. This is definitely.
Wait a second.
This is a better painting that I did.
Nice.
And then Joker.
Oh, he's the Joker.
Yeah.
So Joker.
I've got a lot on the walls here. I'm working on this one right now of Breaking Bad.
Whoa!
Nice.
Wow.
Nice. Yeah. So you can see I'm pretty busy with it. After our conversation, I'm going to go work on a mural too.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So but I don't really know what I'm doing. Like a lot of time, like I'll just kind of get something going and then spend way too much time on it to make sure it looks good. And it's kind of like trial and error. And I've gotten better at that process, but I've got a lot to learn also. But I kind of like not knowing what I'm doing because with music, I'm so strict and conventional on how I do some things. But with art, I can just kind of listen to music or listen to a good podcast and kind of space out and, just paint or whatever. But I've recently in my life got to a point where I can make some money doing it, and it's not always economical because, like I said, it can take me a while to do things, but it's something I love to do that I can make some money doing, like music. So.
That's great.
Right.
Yeah, man. But yeah, so between those two things, I also pretty much just spend a good bit of time reading and listen to a lot of audiobooks and stuff like that. And then, like I said earlier, running. And the nice thing about running is you can listen to anything while you do it. So yeah, that's
what kind of books do you read?
I really, like, most of my life have really loved nonfiction stuff. Like I read a lot of Carl Sagan, Stephen Hawking. Like I'm really into astrophysics and science in general. So like I've always kind of combed through those books. And then I started reading Game of Thrones a couple years ago, and that kind of got me. But aside from Harry Potter, I had never really read a lot of books like fantasy and stuff. But so then I read all those like 3 times, and then Lord of the Rings, and I got pretty into that stuff for a while. But I find it more productive, I guess, to listen to nonfiction stuff because you're learning things that are real while you're reading it. So I'm also like really into politics, and we won't talk about that because that'd be another hour and a half of me ranting, as you guys have heard me do, I'm sure. But
We did talk about politics during the tour. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm really into just discussions in that sense. So I do spend a lot of time putting effort into that as well. But I mean, that's a lot of stuff already. Like I said, I wouldn't want to brew beer because it's like I'd be running myself dry.
Also, it's always best to consume beer than produce it.
Right. I'm drinking.
I have a lot of friends who brew beers, but I am always on the other side, the drinking side.
Yeah. Yeah.
I appreciate it.
There you go. Well, cool. Yeah, I probably got to go in a sec. You got one more good question?
No, we just have the final speech for you because we usually do that at the end of the live chat. You have the very official.
You are in time.
So official, yeah. I don't want to let people down. I think number one, I really appreciate you guys having me on here. I wish other band members could have been here, but I like hearing myself talk more than them, so I'm at least happy with that. But no, I think that it's great that we're all using this year to still put out some music. I know we've talked a lot about what's going on for me, but I hope y'all are doing the same thing with staying busy and really for anybody listening. That's the main point I was trying to make is we have things that I feel like we can take refuge in when things get really effed up. And I think that people spend, especially in where I live, spend way too much time kind of tuning into this, the news or whatever echo chamber they're in every day, or scrolling on Facebook. And it's just like, you get so much pessimism and negativity that you kind of lose a part of yourself after a while of doing that. And I'm guilty of it too sometimes, but I make sure to try to have outlets for, for those stresses and not just add to the fire, and I feel, what's that?
Oh, I said yes.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we all, have a bad habit of getting into that sometimes. So I think it's easier for people who are artists or have really strong hobbies to kind of psych themselves out of that tunnel vision. But, I would say that I feel like no matter who you are, everyone can do a better job of trying to get their mind in a good place. And, if everyone were to do that, we'd probably have people being less, belligerent and prejudiced and quick to judge other people. And, it would make everything better just by having that meditation people can resort to. So I think that's like the main thing that matters right now is just having that ability to find, like I said, if it's someone picking up a guitar that has a bunch of dust on it, or just finish reading the book that you bought for like $30 and never read, things like that, and trying to, not resort to just like playing, and no hate on like playing video games and stuff, but like things that will enrich you, I guess, is what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, yes, I agree totally.
Yeah.
Do something that can help you grow. That's good. Thank you for your speech. Thank you for being with us. It was great to talk with you again. We missed you a lot. Absolutely, man. Yeah, I miss you guys too. And we always talk about y'all in Avalion, and it's like, one day I think we'll have the opportunity to, cross paths again. But
Meanwhile, this was
Yeah.
awesome. I think we should try to do it again, and maybe next time have other. You could even try to do it with John one day or something. And even though you'll probably lose brain cells from hearing him talk.
We will take the risk, maybe.
Right. Well,
so,
thanks again.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Max.
Yeah,
And
absolutely, guys.
a great art session with your mural.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, well, y'all be good, okay?
You too.
Yeah, you too.
You too.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Good night.